All right, everyone, welcome to Catalyst Coaching Call. It's 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. That means that all of my one-on-one clients in the Cornerman coaching program are here for their weekly group call where they get a hot seat to address a specific problem using a specific format that we use called RADA, which is what resource am I currently using? What action did I take based on that resource? What discovery did I come to, or what did I learn from taking that action? And then here's my question based on what I learned, based on what I did, based on the resource I'm leveraging. We talked a lot about that on the last call about, how do we use the RADA framework to catalyze our progress by maintaining a very clear focus on what we're working toward or on, and the resources and the actions that we're taking, the data that we're collecting, and so forth. So I'll link to that conversation in this replay. But what I wanted to talk about just briefly before we get to the hot seats today is just building on the conversation that we began the call last Wednesday, where we talked about how do I define my biggest constraint, my most immediate constraint. How do I turn that into my most immediate priority, and how do I uh, leverage the RADA framework to navigate that uh, constraint by addressing the priority so that I can start closing the gap with greater velocity and ease between where I am and where I want to be. Um, so I'll start by sharing that people that are currently working with me, either in the Cornerman one-on-one coaching or the Voxer Velocity asynchronous coaching, daily coaching over Voxer, fall roughly into two categories in terms of what they're working on. For people like Bree and Penny that are in Cornerman coaching, they have existing offers, and so they are primarily working on improving, optimizing their client attraction system. So if you're not familiar with our world and the language that we use, client attraction is something that most people would call client acquisition or lead generation. Those are terms that I prefer not to use because we're not trying to acquire anyone. This is not, we're not going to distant shores and capturing people and dragging them into our offers. We're doing our work out loud and in public, letting people watch and trusting that our people will find us and will, by using Be a Blessing marketing strategy and tactics and tools, we'll be able to attract them in a way that they make up their own mind to inquire about working with us in a deeper, more connected way. So your client attraction strategy is one thing that people are normally optimizing for. For the people that are in Voxer Velocity, they fall into that category, existing offer that they're trying to optimize the client attraction system with, or they're actually trying to come up with their forever offer. We usually call that forever offer, meaning we're not creating a power offer or no-brainer offer. We prefer to work with people with brains, and we are not forcing people to buy anything. Uh, Forever offers are more about being clear about this is the kind of change that I can make for this kind of person in a way that only I can help them make. So it's, what's the difference that I make in the way that only I can make it? And the forever offer format overlaps a lot with the Be a Blessing marketing strategy, but the primary benefit of forever offers is it allows you to waste no time on stupid marketing stuff. You don't have to do any digital marketing tools, tactics, strategies, blueprints, roadmaps, what have you. You don't have to follow any kind of guru template or blueprint. You're simply practicing your craft and letting that be the marketing that attracts the kind of people that you are best suited to serve and helping them come to their own decision more effectively and efficiently, that you are the best person to help them. So those are the kind of the two categories of folks that are here: people working on their offer, people that are working on their client attraction system. When we are talking about what's the number one thing I'm working on, so part of the RADA process, the resource action discovery ask or question, is sometimes we say, what am I optimizing for? What am I trying to accomplish? Another way to think about it is, what's my number one priority right now? And last, I'll just review quickly what we talked about last time, which is we want to start with, what's the vision of the life that we are building our business to fund and fit around? We have to be clear about what is this business for? I mean, if your business is, I want to waste a lot of time doing a lot of things that don't get me anywhere, that's a perfectly legitimate business model. And you can follow any online guru or digital marketer, and they will help you do that, because they will just keep telling you to add things to your systems because it worked for them in the past. And even though you're not them and it's no longer the past, you will do things and it will feel like you are accomplishing something, when actually all you're doing is generating more productivity. That's not actually making you progress towards your goal. So when we have clarity about, this is the lifestyle that I want to be leading and I want my business to fit and fund around that, we can then say, okay, if a reasonable amount of time to build that business that's going to fund and fit that vision is 10 years or 5 years, what would I have to do this year? What would I have to do this quarter? What would I have to do this month? What would I have to do this week? What would I have to do today? And so we're trying to get to that level of granularity. And I walked through an example of this last week, but one caveat is, we are holding the vision of the lifestyle we want to lead and the vision of the priority that we're working on loosely, because it can change. When I first started using this process, the vision of the lifestyle I wanted to lead was, my wife and I wanted to become world travelers after the pandemic. And we actually came very, very close to completely funding that vision over the course of the pandemic. And then our kids announced that they were pregnant, and our vision of the lifestyle we wanted to live changed to being full-time grandparents and staying right here. So we completely reoriented around a brand new vision. And that's how I reduced the time spent in my business by 90%, because I couldn't work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and be a full-time grandfather. So that's an example of starting with the lifestyle vision and working your way back to what does my average week or day need to look like in order to accomplish that thing. So what I did today with all of my clients, whether you're a Cornerman coaching client or a Voxer Velocity client, is I basically went into my own personal coaching GPT that I use to augment and enhance the coaching responses that I provide you all with. And I said, based on all the conversation we've had about Bree, with Penny, with whoever else I'm working with, what is the current vision of the business that they're trying to build look like? What's their most immediate constraint? And based on that constraint, what's the most immediate thing that we should be working on? As a way of answering that first question that we're going to watch Bree and Penny walk through in the hot seats. What am I actually trying to accomplish right now? What's my number one priority? Because your RADA, your resource action, discovery, and ask should be based on what you are currently optimizing for. And what I suggested is that each of you take these statements that I arrived at statements for you, but I also said, hey, does this resonate? Does this sound like what you're working towards is what needs to be revised? Because I want you to take that statement and I want you to put it on a sticky note, and I want I want you to tattoo it on your forehead. I don't care. I want you to know what you're working toward, because every time you ask a question that's not going to address your most immediate priority, help you navigate your most immediate constraint, we are losing our focus. And it is doesn't mean that we always have to just talk, like, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I really believe in that. Doesn't mean that it's sometimes the main thing is I don't feel like it today. I'm going to relax. Sometimes the main thing for the moment is I've got extra time on my hands. I'm going to noodle on this other idea. Like, I'm not saying that you can't ever ask a different question or ask about a different priority or go off um, the current priority. But in general, if you are paying me for the privilege of my feedback, my hope is it's so that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish with the greatest ease and velocity. So you can move on and just go off and do your work and make the difference that you're going to make and help other people, because I have no concern about replacing you with someone that is eager to work with me, waiting in the wings. So again, what we're, I, I just, I want to reaffirm this for everybody. I think whether you're a client or not, this can work for you, but especially for clients, again, Cornerman or Voxer Velocity. What's the current priority? What's the thing that we're working on? What are we trying to accomplish? Based on the number one constraint that we've identified is the most immediate bottleneck in stepping into possibility and closing the gap with the greatest ease and velocity between where we are and where we want to be. And then what resource am I leveraging? Is it something, a principle in the Forever offer? Is it a principle or practice in Be a Blessing marketing? Is it the close the gap goal achievement or objective achievement process? Is it or something else? Like, sometimes the resource is based on the conversation we had last week, or based on the conversation we had on Voxer, or based in the onboarding call that we had. Okay, that can be a resource, but it's what's the information, the knowledge that I am turning into learning by engaging the field, because I took an action. I did something with that knowledge, with that learning. I turned it into learning that is changing the way that I show up in my work for the people I serve, the way that I just show up in the world in general. That's what learning does. Learning changes behavior. Because if you're going to keep doing what you did yesterday, you're going to continue to get the results that you've been getting. The only way to get a different result tomorrow is to see, be, and do something a little bit differently today. So, what's the resource? What's the action? What did I learn? What happened? What's the data I collected? And then, based on the resource, the action, and the discovery, here's my question. How can I do this better? Is there something I should have done differently? Was this the smallest micro step into possibility? Do you see something else that I might have missed? That's the way to leverage this process. Is that clear to Bree and Penny?
I think
Just
so.
real quick before I turn off the recording, did the kind of refocusing on priority, defining your number one priority, and recalibrating on the RADA process this morning during our Voxer exchanges, was that helpful?
Yes, very much so.
Awesome. Okay. So for anyone that's watching this recording, you're welcome to reach out with any questions about anything that I said. But again, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. What's the vision of the life that you want your business to fund and fit around? You'd have to have some sufficient clarity about that. It's not, doesn't have to be perfectly clear, and it doesn't mean that it's fixed and immutable and can never change. It can and should change as your circumstances, situation, and progress towards the goal changes, because progress towards a goal will clarify where you're actually heading. Once you have that vision, you have to step all the way back to what are the things that have to go, 2 or 3 things that have to go right to achieve that. Based on the 2 or 3 things that have to go right to achieve that, what's the most immediate constraint, bottleneck thing preventing me from making progress? And then how do I turn that into my #1 priority and come up with a plan for addressing that priority? Which resources and actions do I need to take to start to make progress on that most immediate constraint? All right, so if you have questions, go ahead and ask. We're going to turn off the recording now and get to the hot seats.